guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to go over a really fun deck I played at my locals last night and got second place with it. It's really fun. It's super odd because black really isn't in the meta right now because of all the nerfs it got, and the recent support hasn't really been the greatest. But I've always really liked this leader, and I decided to give it a shot after I saw some really interesting ideas, and I decided to give it my interpretation of it. But this is Xeno Trunks, in my opinion, one of the few good black leaders right now. I love his ability. It's super simple to the point. Activate main, choose a black Saiyan card. Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be a black Saiyan. Choose a black card in my hand, send it to my warp, and draw 2. It's a great way to just get a bunch of card draw early on. And then its awakening condition is if I have 4 or less life, or if I have 5 or more Saiyans in the drop. My warp, I can flip them over, untap 1, draw 1. Just super early on, you can draw as many cards as you need while putting cards into your warp so you can awaken early. I love the art on the back side of this. I really wish they would do an alternate art of this. Not necessarily a reboot, but I really just do like the art on this one. SS God Trunks, Crimson Warrior, Blocker, which is really neat. His auto, when this card attacks, I draw 2 and then warp 1 card from hand. Fantastic. Now I'm getting that draw 2 first, and then I can pick a card to warp out of the ones in my hand. If there's a dead card or something I want in my warp, it's awesome. Activate main. I can Spirit Boost 1, tap 1, place 2 cards from my warp. Place 2 black battle cards from my warp into my drop area to choose one of my opponent's battle cards and send it to their warp. So it's board removal, really nice. And its auto is once per turn. If my Unison would be attacked, I can flip this guy back to active mode. So he acts as a blocker towards the Unison or towards any attacks at my leader. Came in handy, really well. But yeah, the Black Saiyan leaders are really cool. Let's get into the deck, though. Just gonna leave that right there. All right. Started off with the card that makes this deck. Well, one of the cards that makes this deck go off is SS God Trunks Power Awakened. I got my 3 SPRs and my 1 winner card here. This card absolutely makes the deck run because essentially this is a perfect turn 1, turn 2 fodder for your leader draw ability. You send it to the warp, draw your 2, and that's really where you want this card to be. You don't want this card in hand or in the drop area. You want it in your warp. Because if you have 8 or more cards in your warp, you can pay 2 black to play it from the warp. And then once it attacks, it has deflect too, so it's coming onto the board no matter what. It has dual attack, and each time it attacks, you take 3 cards from your warp back to your drop. So you swing twice, get 6 cards in your drop, you overwhelm a 6 drop, and it's free overwhelm ability. It's really cool. The artwork on these is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite pieces of art in the game. Yeah, this card is absolutely insane. 20k dual attack that refills your drop. So good. Now, originally I was running the 2-drop SS4 Bardock, but decided that this is just the better Unison for this deck. Supreme Kai of Time, the opposing the Empire. It's been a while since I've had to read these. I just kind of know what they do. But if your leader card is black, as a black Xeno Trunks card, and it's your turn, when a battle card is played from your warp, draw a card and add a marker to it. So you draw 1, add a marker to it by playing cards like Trunks from the warp. Its +1 allows you to take the top 3 cards of your deck and send them to your warp, so it helps build up the cards in your warp, hopefully with Saiyans, so you can awaken early. And there's a lot of cards that can be played from the warp for very cheap, so it's good to have more cards in your warp. So essentially this can be, in best case scenario, a +2 every turn, plus you draw 1. One of your ultimate turn 1s, in my opinion, is the Sun Goten challenging a demon god. Once again, this is a great turn 1 Turn 2 card for your leader's draw ability. You send it to the warp, and you then play it for 1 black energy from your warp. So you get a 10k 1-drop that when you play it, take the top 3 cards of your deck and send them to your warp. So we're all about that, putting more cards into the warp. You can also Spirit Boost 1 to give this card critical until the end of turn. I do wish it gave it like a 5k boost as well, because usually when your opponent awakens and this card really, there's no point in having it, giving it crit unless you want to buff it up with a bunch of cards. It's great for building up Z energy later on too. But solid turn 1 play. This is not necessarily a turn 1 play, but later down the line when you want to go in for some big swings. Son Goku, True Fighting Spirit. This card, unfortunately, has been errata where it's limited to only once a turn now. So it's limit 1 on the board. So you can't have more than 1. I believe that's the errata on it. But yeah, basically your opponent, if they activate a counter skill at all, whether it's counterplay, counter attack, counter, they do have to warp a card from hand. So it's a great deterrent for them to have to get rid of cards in their hand later on when you want to swing in for big attacks, towards the end of the game. Alright, so this is an odd card in the deck, but it kind of works. SS4 Bardock Prismatic Burst. He is a 2-cost, 1 black, 1 red counterplay. You play this card, and if the opponent's battle card being played has a cost of 20k power or less, it is placed in the owner's drop area instead. The permanent really doesn't matter on this because because we're not playing the SS4 Bardock leader. But mainly I did this because it's red and black, so it's a dual color. For 2, being able to counterplay something that with 20k power is pretty solid. And it's a 16k, so if I combo with something like a 5k, it's a 21k. It forces them to have to combo with more cards to get around attacks. So I thought it was a neat little spice in the deck. Got to use it once, I believe. Next, I have SS3 Tag Team Trunks. I know the SS3 Future Gohan card is better, but this is still a solid card. Overwhelm 3. When you play this card using Overwhelm, it gains critical for the duration of the turn, and during its activate battle, you can warp a card from your hand to give it double strike. So more cards in your warp, plus you're giving it double strike. And you can activate this, since you can activate this during your activate battle, your opponent has to decide beforehand if they want to negate it or block it. So it can really mess them up if they decide, no, I'm going to let it go through, and then you just drop down a double strike with crit. Speaking of those big 6-drop cards from earlier, we got SS4 Goku Beyond All Limits. This card is great for cycling. Essentially, it's a 30k free swinger. When you play this card using Overwhelm, search your drop area for a card with a cost of 3 and 5, battle card, mind you, 3 and 7, and add it to your hand. So this can just cycle itself through the warp. And with Trunks' ability to put essentially 6 cards back into your drop area, this becomes a free warp too. Or a free overwhelm. It's really neat. I like it. And now the card that really helped add some more steam to this deck, Dark Broly Heartless Berserker. Brand new from this recent set. When this card comes into play, first of all, it's an Overwhelm 6, so you can play it for the same Overwhelm cost as SS4. But when this card is played, choose one of my opponent's battle cards and send it to the opponent's warp. And activate main, I can tap 2 energy to play this card from my warp. So, once again, amazing interaction that I can just send this to the warp, turn 1 or turn 2, turn 3 or whatever, whenever my Trunks needs to draw. And then I can play it for 2. It's a 2-cost warp a battle card. And you get a 30k beat stick. And since you played it from the warp without Overwhelm, it doesn't go away. It's awesome. And it actually has a lot of interactability with this next card, the Dark Broly Unbridled Destruction. Now this card is red, but it also has the permanent, this card is black in all areas, so it does work with this deck. It's got deflect. It's unique. Its EX evolve cost though is 2, and put it on top of a dark Broly with a cost of 2 or 6. So 6 cost Broly, play it on top of it. When this card is played, I get to untap the Broly. So you can swing in with Broly, play this card on top of it. It untaps. Then it's a wall of text here. If your opponent's life is at 3 or less, sorry, 3 or more, and there is a card under this card. When this card is played, switch it to active mode, then your opponent may choose up to 1 battle card each from their hand, battle area, and or drop area, and send them to the warp. If they sent 2 or fewer cards to their warp, choose 1 card in my opponent's life and place it in the drop area. I cannot play copies of this card for the turn. So you can't cheese the last life with it, but it's just really cool pressure to add on. Being another 30k body, makes them get rid of cards if they don't want to lose a life. It's really cool interactability. This card I borrowed from a buddy of mine, King Vegeta, Kingdom Lost. This really didn't come up in play though. It's really cool. Essentially, it is just an extra cost they have to pay in order to attack me. While this card is in rest mode, my opponent cannot attack me unless they want to warp 1 card from their hand every time. It is a double strike barrier, 19k, and I can play it for 2 if my opponent has 3 cards in their warp. Now, originally I thought, oh, that's gonna be super easy, but during the match, it really took a while for me to get to 3 cards in their warp, because a lot of cards did have barrier that I was playing against. So by the time I could play it, I never saw it, or one was already in my energy, so I was looking for 1 extra copy of it. But it's really cool. Especially in the right matchup. I still think it's a card you need to have in the deck. Alright, for the super combo, we have the standard Super Saiyan Vegeta. It's just the best black super combo right now. Bottom deck 1, draw 2. It's just standard. Next, I run 2 copies of Tapo Righteous Aid. Because this does splash a little bit of red in, we can run it. It's a standard floodgate. Tapo, in my opinion, is kind of one of the better floodgates in the game because it costs 4 instead of 2. But this didn't come up in a whole lot of play. I think I played it once. Mostly this was just either energy or combo fodder. Now for a lot of for other negates in the deck, I do run 3 copies of Pan challenging a Demon God. This is really neat. I do wish it really negated the attack, but I can understand why. A 1 cost negate that also adds on attacks if they wanted to attack is a little crazy. It's a negate attack, but doesn't actually negate the attack. It does, however, make them, for the rest of the turn, have to warp 2 cards from their hand each time they want to attack. So, mainly I would play this card and then use it as combo fodder to make them stop attacking me as often that turn. It's solid, though. I do like the extra tax it adds on. Then we have Supreme Kai of Time. Time Labyrinth Unleashed. Essentially, with this card, it's a counterattack, negate the attack. If my opponent has 3 or more cards in their warp, I reduce the cost of this card in my hand by 2, so it becomes a 1 cost. If my leader is black, when this card is played using its counterattack skill, choose up to 1 of my opponent's battle cards, send it to their warp at the end of the turn, play the card that was sent to the warp, with its skills negated for the turn. So just extra negate, and it just does some really cool things since my leader is a Black Saiyan. Alright, a lot of the extra cards in this deck. I run 2 Petrification. Love this card. Essentially, 1 cost, negate attack, then choose any of my opponent's battle cards, and they cannot attack with it for the turn. It loses its skills and can't be comboed with. So they swing in, play this to negate the attack, and then choose the other big card on their field that they didn't attack with. Can't attack. It's solid. Of course, we run 2 support of the Dark Empire. I love our token negates. And then I run 2 copies of Begrudging Allies, which is a brand new card in this format. I really like it. Basically, it is just a counterplay. If the card being played has a cost of 3 or less, it is sent to the warp instead of being played. And if my life is at 4 or less, it costs 1 less to play. So a 1 cost counterplay stops a lot of floodgates from coming in. Stops a lot of lower to the ground cards, and helps put more cards in their warp. I really like it. I think it's a good solid staple card for side decks at the very least. Alright, now for the one-ofs, and there is a lot of one-ofs in this deck. Vegeta Resolve Renewed, we all know why, it's just a counterplay. Stops floodgates. I didn't run the one because I really didn't think it was going to come up that often. Champa, obviously we won't hit them with that 10k double strike. We got the Mass Saiyan in order to let them go all in with an attack, hopefully trying to end the game with a triple or double striker, and then just, you know, take the one life and, aha, can't do shit. One copy of SS4 Gogeta from the new set. I love this card. It's kind of a board wipe in a way, at least getting rid of two big-ass battle cards. It'll be fun. I want to run two, but I only have the one copy of it right now, so it's just a one-of right now. Trunks Power Overseeing Time. It's just a solid double striker. You do have to pay 2 on top of its overwhelm cost, but then you also get to take a battle card with a cost of, let's see, I think it's just any battle card. Yep, choose one battle card from my warp and add it to my hand, so it's just more recycling. Then we have SS3 Trunks challenging a Demon God. It's just another card to play from the warp. It gets double strike if I have 10 or more battle cards in the warp. And yeah, just solid aggression later on. Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire, because we know the absolute GOAT. Great card. And the secret I run is Heroine's Lineage, because I don't really have a lot of other black SCRs. It's either this or Cracked Dragon Balls, and this is still a really solid card. Alright, and then from there, I only ran 3 cards in the Z deck, 2 copies of Demon God Demigra, and 1 copy of SS4 Defender of Life. This came up once. These 2 did not come up at all. Black really doesn't have any Z battle cards that are worth mentioning. And then the sideboard, it was kind of hard to put together, but I think I did okay. 1 extra copy of Begrudging Allies, 1 Kotsukai, 1 Shin Noble Supremacy for those Gogeta and Sin decks, 2 copies of Super Kamehameha for just more counterplay stuff, Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan for you know, a bunch of aggro players, 2 copies of Reaper's Cunning, which is just choose one of my opponent's battle cards with a cost higher than their current energy and warp it. So their ability doesn't matter since we don't run Demon God as our leader. 2 more Support of the Dark Empire, because, you know, in case we play against more aggressive decks. Same deal with Oceanus Shenron. And finally, Protector of the People. Just a bunch of aggro hate. But I really didn't get to play against a whole lot of aggro decks. At least ones I felt like a lot of them were useful. So that is the SS God Trunks deck I played. I'm going to keep working on this because I feel like there's something here, at least, that it could be considered a rogue deck. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care.